Another Republican presidential hopeful is entering the 2024 race.
That's right. CBS News has confirmed former New Jersey Governor Christie will announce his campaign next week in New Hampshire. Christie also ran in the 2016 presidential primary, eventually finding himself in 6th place when he dropped out.
Also on the campaign trail, Ron DeSantis is taking aim at President Biden and Donald Trump. The Florida governor held an event in Iowa yesterday where he vowed to fight back against the former president.
I do think, unfortunately, he's decided to move left on some of these issues, and I think it's me that's just being true to kind of what we said.
Well, our own Ed O'Keefe is in Iowa with more on the campaign efforts underway. Ed, what does Chris Christie bring to the race?
It's a good question, Lana. We'll see. He's expected to announce next Tuesday and has been signaling for the last several months that somebody needs to get into the race to just, in essence, laser focus on former President Trump, try to recapture the kind of Republican support that previous Republican presidents, or at least Republican nominees, have enjoyed from more center-right independents, from traditional Republican voters who were there with the party before Donald Trump's time. Some may see this coming as a sort of kamikaze mission, if you will, getting into the race to try to just bludgeon the former president and get him to not win the nomination. Others will say, no, he's genuinely after this. We'll see what exactly transpires. But him joining the race crowds an already growing field. And if we remember back to 2016, the more candidates there were at a time when he was hitting a comfortable double digit, the better it is for the former president. So there is some risk that despite the concerns about the former president's viability in a general election, the larger the field grows, the more likely it is that he can prevail yet again.
Ed, the frontrunners seem like they've really already been established. This isn't Chris Christie's first attempt at the presidency. Does he stand a chance?
That's what remains to be seen. There's some reporting today from his aides that suggests that they're looking for a more national campaign that will take advantage of earned media. That's another way of saying this is somebody who doesn't have much of a staffing operation or money at his disposal, so he's going to have to spend a lot of time on free television and radio and podcasts to get the word out in hopes of somehow making a dent in a race that is very much Donald Trump's to lose and a lot of other people's to participate in at this point. So we'll see. But clearly he believes, his team believes that there is space for him and that at least somebody has to enter the race to make the argument that Donald Trump is too dangerous for the GOP to nominate yet again.
It's a different lane, and it's one that DeSantis has sort of had difficulty traversing, as you and I have discussed before, Ed. Speaking of DeSantis, as he's beginning his campaign, I'm wondering what you're noticing as far as his strengths and weaknesses on the trail.
Well, he had his first event last night. A few hundred people were in attendance in suburban Des Moines. He's had one event so far this morning in Sioux City, up in the northwestern part of the state. He'll be here in Pella, Iowa, later this afternoon. And a lot of the focus for him right now is on the Florida record, what he was able to accomplish as governor, especially in the last 6 months with the GOP-controlled legislature, tackling things like restricting abortion access, loosening gun laws, implementing a new education policy designed to keep conversation about gender and sexuality and other issues at a minimum or completely out of the classroom, banning diversity, equity, inclusion programs in public universities. So it's, that kind of discussion about here's what I've done. His team has argued a lot of people are familiar with who he is and that he is Florida governor, maybe not as familiar with what he accomplished. And one thing I've noticed him say already a lot is some of the things we've done in Florida were done or are being done here in Iowa by the governor, Kim Reynolds. So if you like Kim Reynolds and what's been done by a Republican government in Iowa, then you're going to like what I've been doing in Florida. The other thing to watch for, his wife, Casey DeSantis, who's been at his side so far and is expected to be a key surrogate for him and a top advisor. Earlier today, last night, they talked a little bit about being the parents of 3 young children. That reflection of a young husband and wife with 3 young children making a sort of subtle, or maybe eventually not so subtle, generational argument against former President Trump and potentially against President Biden is something that the DeSantis team believes could eventually work in their favor.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. All right, a busy year and a half ahead for you, Ed O'Keefe. Thank you.